the January 13th, 2025 Warwick County School Corporation Board of School Trustees meeting to order. Would you please rise and join us in a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now we will have the administration of oath of the elected board members by the Honorable Judge Granger of the Warwick County Circuit Court.
Welcome, Judge.
Thank you for being with us this evening.
Thank you for the invitation. Evening.
Good evening.
Any particular order? Let's do,
I think we're supposed to walk out there, Andrew.
you wanna come on?
On out, right? Sure.
Come on up, Linda.
Yes, you're legally required to do it.
Oh, but I like my chair.
Stand here.
That's fine. Raise your right hand, please, and repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Linda Glover,
Solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
and the Constitution of the State of Indiana
and the Constitution of the State of Indiana
and the laws of the United States and the State of Indiana.
and the laws of the United States and the State of Indiana.
And I will faithfully
And I will faithfully
execute the duties
execute the duties
of my office as member of the Board of Trustees
of members of the Board of School Trustees
of the Warwick County School Corporation.
of the Warwick County School Corporation.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
What? I say welcome back to Mrs. Glover and Mr. Mosby, and welcome to our board, Mr. Skinner. We're glad to have you.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Agenda item number 4, election of school board officers. I would like to nominate Mrs. Linda Glover as president for the upcoming term and congratulate her. She's also the director of the region for the ISBA, and she's been the secretary for the school board for a few years.
Yeah.
2 terms, for 2 terms. So I would like to nominate Linda Glover as president of the Warwick County School Board.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Next, we have the office of vice president. I would like to nominate Jeff Baker as vice president.
I'll second. I beat you.
Mrs. Glover seconded the motion. Do we have any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. And finally, the last position is secretary, and I would like to nominate Jordan Eidner for that position.
I will second that.
And we have a second by Mr. Franz. Is there any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. And now, Judge Granger, if you would swear in our officers for us,
We'll
please.
do those individually,
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
Linda?
Go forward?
Yes.
please.
Okay.
I, Linda Glover,
I, Linda Glover,
solemnly swear
solemnly swear
I will support the Constitution of the United States of America,
I will support the Constitution of the United States of America,
the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
and the laws of the United States
and the laws of the United States
and the State of Indiana.
and the State of Indiana.
I will faithfully
I will faithfully
execute
execute
the duties of my office
the duties of my office
as President of the Board of Trustees
as President of the Board of Trustees
of the Warwick County School Corporation,
of the Warwick County School Corporation.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Got to look at your nameplate.
Oh,
I, Jeff Baker,
I, Jeff Baker,
solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
and the laws of the United States
and the laws of the United States
and the State of Indiana.
and the State of Indiana.
I will faithfully
I will faithfully
execute the duties
execute the duties
of my office
of my office
as Vice President
as Vice President
of the Board of Trustees
of the Board of Trustees
of the Warwick County School Corporation.
of the Warwick County School Corporation.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. Well done. I, Jordan Igner,
I, Jordan Eigner,
solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America,
that I will support the laws of the United States Constitution. I didn't say that right. Let's start again.
I solemnly swear
I solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of
that I will
America,
support the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
the Constitution of the State of Indiana,
the laws of the United States,
the laws of the United States,
and the laws of the State of Indiana.
the laws of the State of Indiana.
I will faithfully
I will faithfully
execute my duties
execute my duties
of my office as Secretary
of my office as Secretary
of the Board of Trustees
of the Board of Trustees
of the Warwick County School Corporation.
of the Warwick County School Corporation.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here.
Allowing me to perform the ceremony.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you. I also would like to thank Mrs. Wilhelmus for her time as our board president.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate the dedication to that office, and the board president and the superintendent are working very closely together, so I appreciate all of your hard work.
Thank you.
Mrs. Glover,
Oh, and we're on.
we're on.
Okay. We want to go with the disclosure, acceptance of disclosures from board members, Mr. Whitehead.
Yes, so every public servant who could or does have a pecuniary interest, and that could rise to a conflict of interest for their position as member of the School Board of Trustees, must disclose that interest every year and at the time it occurs or within a certain period of days. So at this time, I would ask for anybody who does or could have a conflict of interest to disclose that by the state-provided form to myself, and then I'll give that to Laura.
I have a form that I will get to you.
Okay, great. And Mr. Baker provided me with one as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have several people who have signed up, one,
We're going into the,
with their concerns, but we're going to switch and have school recognition.
Yes, thank
Dr.
you.
Redmond.
Thank you. We will get to patron concerns. We just want to be able to get and recognize these young high school students ahead of that, please. So at this time, I would like to introduce Mr. Derek Smith. He's a computer science teacher at Castle High School, and he has some great news to share about some students and an achievement that they have, and would love for the board to get to hear more about that this evening. So, Mr. Smith.
Okay, so my name is Derek Smith. I'm a computer science teacher at Castle High School. I first of all want to thank the school board for inviting us tonight to acknowledge my students in my capstone program. I have with me Andrew Stokebrand, Rex Ianello, Griffin Wilson, Nick Braswell, and Jack Rogers. So thank you very much. In 2017, the Indiana Department of Education implemented the Bucket 2 graduation requirement as part of the graduation pathways policy. The Bucket 2 requirement focuses on demonstrating employability skills through project-based learning, service-based learning, or employability skills through a work-based learning experience. This was designed to provide students with a more flexible and meaningful way to prepare for post-secondary education. And a good way to summarize that is it's not just Core 40 to graduate. Now there are extra components that students have to have in order to graduate. Unfortunately, the IDOE did not provide a standard policy for collecting and storing the data and left it really up to each school and each school system to determine a method for doing this. As an example, for Castle High School, this task was given to our guidance staff who had to devise a way to collect this data for over 2,000 students every 4 years. And you can imagine this is a daunting task and very time-consuming. So all of my capstone students here, they're seniors, and they recognized this as a problem. So seeing that this was an issue, these incredibly talented students decided to come up with a solution to lessen the load on our school staff. And they later presented it as a solution to every school in the state of Indiana. So during this year's Next Tech Computer Programming Competition that is annual, these Castle students presented their highly effective, automated, and digitized solution to a committee of software companies who judged over 100 submissions given to them this year. In December, they were invited to and presented their project to multiple judges, including the Secretary of Education of the state of Indiana. And this was all done at this Indiana State House in December. And I'm happy to say that this year they won the first place award at the competition this year. And that's actually Castle's second year in a row of winning this competition. So Warwick County should be very proud of these young men and the way that they really reflected the values of Warwick County. I am very proud of each and every one of them. Thank you to the school board for, again, acknowledging them and inviting us. Thank you that Mr. Hood and I were able to come today and kind of brag on them because they were very well deserving of it. So thank you again.
Congratulations.
Mind blown. Good job.
So well.
Thank you so much. Great job.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Thanks a lot. Thanks for everything. Thank you.
Thanks very much. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. Great job.
Okay, next, we will have patrons' concerns. And the first name on our list is Darlene Short.
Thank you. I am here today as the Warwick Literacy and Education Connections Director. It's a not-for-profit that is just, the mission is to get books into the hands of kids, our youngest citizens, birth to age 5. And by doing that, we raise funds and get registrations of children from birth to age 5. And those books that we partner with the Dollywood Foundation. Dollywood Foundation mails the books and publishes the books. Without them, we couldn't have the program for our kids, and without us, they couldn't get some. They have over 200 million books they mail. At this point, that's how many books have been mailed. In Warwick County alone, we have received, I think we've mailed around 45,000 books. That would not be possible if it wasn't for the Warwick County School Corporation. And each year we want to make sure that you know how much we appreciate, or our families appreciate, the support we had from the very beginning. 2017, the Castle North Middle School Generation On Club had the idea of bringing it to Warwick County. We had 0 kids registered, 0 books being delivered. And for a couple of years, they raised the money and got the registration going, and they got awareness of the program out in Warwick County. We could not have done that without the support of Todd Armstrong and our financial department, because we had to have a line item to be able to, where they managed the program, and he very generously did that. No money went in there, but he managed that for us. So I just want to make sure you know.
That's an Armstrong thing right there.
That's
for
okay.
sure.
I just didn't want to say.
Mrs. Short knows Mr. Armstrong very well.
Yeah, but so appreciative of that. And then in 2019, we had the help of actually Andrew Skinner and became a not-for-profit. again, the continued support of Warwick County School Corporation is that we have an annual fundraiser that is coming up in 3 weeks. You have an invitation to join us. It's going to be catered by Acropolis. It should be a lot of fun. But each year, we just want to say thank you for your help with that. We also allow our schools to do fundraisers to help this. Now, it came back to me this year, and I think we've gotten to the point where our youngest, like birth to age 5, those kids are graduating. So not only are we serving we have 2,150 kids getting books now. On top of that, more than 1,600 kids have graduated the program, and that's really quite impressive. I did get a story from my colleague saying that her child was show and tell day for her, and she took a book that was a Dolly Parton Imagination book, Dolly Parton Imagination Library book for her show and tell. And after she got done with her book, the kids were saying, "I have that book at my house too." And that's just what we want, because we know that reading to children just gets them ready to learn. And we hope that we start seeing improvement in that as time goes on. So we just really, really appreciate all the help of Warwick County School Corporation. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you want to say it?
Thank you for your work, Darlene. Thank you.
Did you want to make a statement?
No, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
I just wanted to note to the board, my daughter was part of that Generation On group at the start of that, and they produced and published their own book through
Yes.
that group.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so it's just an amazing program, and I'm excited that they have that going on. So
Yes, yeah, thank you for sharing. Yes, Mrs. Klepper, at this time, before we start our patron concerns, we had a lot of information that was spreading through social media yesterday, much of which was inaccurate information, and I just wanted to take a moment to talk through some of the facts so that our public and our families understand what the guidelines that we've created actually entail. And then once we do that, we'll go to our public comment. First, I would just like to clarify that the guidelines are administrative guidelines. They are not Warwick County School Board policy. We have teachers and staff members across the district providing tutoring opportunities before and after school to our students at no cost to families. And for clarity, these guidelines only apply to staff members who are charging for services for personal income. Warwick County School Corporation liability insurance does not cover employees who are functioning outside the scope of their Warwick County School Corporation responsibilities. Just also want to make sure everyone knows that we've been discussing this change in partnership with WCTA, which is our teacher collective bargaining unit, our teachers union, and our building principals consistently since September. In fact, there was an initial conversation earlier in the summer with the WCTA leadership that this had come to our attention, and we needed to reinstate some previous practices in regard to liability and in regard to facility use, and then some other things that come to our attention that caused us to add additional guidelines. So an initial conversation has happened a while back, and we've been in constant communication with that representative group throughout this process, and with our building principals as well. So early on, at minimum, we had communicated to principals that we would need a facility use and a liability insurance form. Once we realized the scope of what was happening and understood that we had some other things like enrichment camps and things that were not traditional tutoring, we felt the need to layer in some additional guidelines. So we asked the building principals to communicate to staff members to sit tight until we get all of that information in writing and in their hands, and that more guidelines were coming, essentially. So since the final written guidelines were sent out just before break, so that happened very late in break, we moved the date to February 1st to allow time for any adjustments, for any questions, any assistance to teachers who need it, and that still stands for this month. And of course, we lost a week last week, so we are willing to work with staff members who have questions and need assistance with going through the process. For clarity, we have not directed any teachers to stop, nor have we discouraged teachers from conducting their programs. We are simply asking teachers to follow the necessary guidelines. Rather than telling our teachers that they cannot conduct these programs at all, we work to provide guidelines that were meant to protect staff, students, and families in regard both to liability and to the cost factor while allowing them to continue this practice in our buildings. Claims that a profit cannot be turned out of the new guidelines is inaccurate. Teachers who want to continue their programs but do not want to abide by the guidelines have every right to conduct their programs off campus at a library, a church, or other space of their choosing. And under those conditions, they can set any rules they would like in terms of the guidelines that they set outside of our school district. Additionally, we are not charging teachers a facility use fee and are not requiring them to purchase a workers' compensation insurance policy. We are also allowing teachers to embed the cost of supplies into the fee structure above their hourly rate. So any costs that they have for supplies would not be taken from the hourly rate. We also have, after hearing some concerns from some of the teachers, we also have added the caveat that for teachers who have 6 or more students are able to request a higher hourly rate. As always, we have avenues for communication with our teachers that include our district collaboration team, our faculty advisory teams, our building principals, and our district administrative team. And we encourage staff to use those means rather than turning to social media where things can be so easily misunderstood. And also, we would encourage our families who have questions to always reach out to their building principals, who in all likelihood can answer any questions about any information that comes to light. And if for some reason they cannot answer, or there is an answer that is not to a parent's satisfaction, then we have chain of command where they can come and speak with somebody at the district or including myself. Of course, as with any new system, policy, guideline, process, we will monitor and make adjustments as needed, especially if we find there's an unintended negative impact. And then finally, Warwick County School Corporation always looks for ways and will continue to look for ways to offer our students the best experiences possible, both during the school day and after school hours. So I just wanted to clarify some of those things before we headed into public comment.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Now I have, is it James West? I'd like to remind the speakers you have 3 minutes to present your position.
Thank you. So if I counted correctly, there's about 18 schools within the corporation. Members of the board, do you feel that every student should feel safe before, during, and after school? And
Yes.
what is Warwick County's policy on bullying?
It's on our website.
Yes, I would be, do you have a question about our
Oh,
bullying
no,
policy?
I've read the policy. I can read the policy if I need to. So I would just like to know if it's zero tolerance, then if a student is struck in the face and then verbally berated on the school bus, why has nothing been done? The student who struck my daughter in the face last year, the student who verbally belittles her as early as today, is still on the bus, still in her 3rd grade classroom, and I was under the assumption that she should feel safe going to, from, and during school, and I don't feel like that is happening.
Mr. West, I would be more than happy to sit down and have a conversation
Man, we've already
with you.
talked. I talked to you on December 19th.
We did, but I
and
would,
he
that
is
was
still
right
on the
before
bus.
break.
He is still in her classroom.
I would be more than happy to sit down and speak with you about this and include the building principal.
She
Thank
did
you.
nothing last year. I contacted her when my daughter got struck in the face. Mr. Whitehead, I know you from court. I was on one of the juries, so I know you're a lawyer. If I struck somebody in the face right now, what would my consequence be?
Yeah.
Roughly.
So while this is public comment period, this is not the correct forum for a back and forth discussion. As Dr. Redmond said, we'd be happy to sit down with you and discuss. We also can't get into what the school corporation is doing for other students because that gets into privacy laws.
Does it not involve my student though?
So I would suggest that we sit down with the proper people, including Dr. Redmond, and go through the issues that you're speaking about.
Yeah, and I would be happy to either meet with you after the board meeting to set a time for you to come in, or I can give you a call tomorrow and we can make that appointment.
Again, December 19th. It's now January 13th.
Sir, we've been out for 3 weeks.
You can't make a phone call while you're out on break?
Sir, we're not going to debate. At this time, I think we understand your concern, and I would be happy to sit down with you. So thank you for coming in, and I will be in contact to set a meeting for you.
That's my granddaughter. People aren't gonna follow up on
Sir.
policies. What the heck is the people in this county paying you to do? My
My granddaughter's been assaulted twice in the school system, this year and last year. You did nothing about it. Zero. You didn't even call my son and my daughter and wanted to talk to them about it. You didn't even do it, and now you want to do it because he's
That's not
coming here
accurate.
complaining.
That's not accurate.
The principal is useless.
Okay, Mr.
Thank you.
Armstrong,
What,
thank you.
because he's a Vanderburgh County sheriff? Because if I find out there's any prejudice going on here?
No,
if he
sir,
drags
thank you.
his feet, he's still
Thank you. We
harassing
need to
my
move on.
granddaughter at school.
Thank you for your comments and
Tell
your
you,
concern,
you
and
can't
they
get
will
with
be
that big
addressed.
problem we have right now. That audit.
They will be addressed. Thank you.
Because I'm a little pissed off.
Understandable, thank
No,
you.
you don't.
Yes. Okay, next. I understand completely. Kristen Burnick, will you please come to the podium, please? Again, remember, you have 3 minutes to address the board with your comments.
No,
No,
of
no,
course
ma'am.
not. Take your time.
Okay,
Of course not.
Abby Redmond, I listened to your speech. Thank you for addressing that. There was a lot of misinformation. Social media, right? I do not think that my stuff is wildly inaccurate, so I'm going to go ahead with what I've prepared. My name is Kristen Burnick. I am the parent of a John H. Castle student. I would like to propose that the school board add a specific issue for discussion at the next school board meeting agenda. Recently, new mandates were placed upon teachers that provide education-based activities and programs on school grounds. These activities and programs begin after the school day ends and last until approximately 4:30 p.m., right? We all know this. And that makes it more convenient for students to attend and parents to let their students attend, right? Okay, we're all in agreement on that. The new mandates were recently given to teachers. They include capping what teachers are allowed to charge for their services, requiring teachers to purchase additional insurance, which I know that you said that maybe they're not required to purchase additional insurance. Did I hear you incorrectly or correctly?
They are required to.
Okay, so
because
good, that's
we're
still
working-
a
yes.
thing. Okay, I just want to make sure that I'm correct here. Where was I? Okay, it includes other stipulations, right? While I understand that these guidelines are not technically stopping after-school activities from occurring, they make it almost impossible for teachers to keep providing said activities. The programs and activities that we will see diminish because of these mandates are things like after-school tutoring, STEM classes, art classes, mindset coaching, and more. These are the activities that better our students and our corporation, right? These are the things that we want in our schools. These are programs that promote educational and personal growth. They foster a love for learning. They build student confidence, and they increase student test scores. My daughter this year scored NWEA in her math section of NWEA almost 20 points higher. And that is directly due to tutoring with her teacher once a week on school grounds after school. I don't want to see that end for any child, let alone my own. Parents know just how valuable our teachers are. They are professionals who are giving up their time and effort to provide these services. As a parent, I am more than willing to pay for things like tutoring and art classes in STEM because these things benefit my child's education. Dictating what a teacher should be able to charge for their professional services is something that should never have been up for discussion, in my opinion. Especially when parents like myself know that what these teachers are doing for our students is priceless. I will finish up with that. I heard your alarm.
It's okay.
I
Finish
urge
your
the
thought.
school board to look into this matter and please, please consider what is best here for the students of Warwick County. That's what we're all here for today. I think we can all agree that everybody in this room has a passion for education, for our kids, and for this community. I also request that this issue be added to the agenda of the next school board meeting for discussion so that our community can come out and advocate for our students and our teachers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mitchell.
So I'm up here for basically the same thing that Kristen Bernick is up here. I do appreciate you, Abby Redmond, for going over that stuff to make it clear, but I am going to go ahead and say what I have prepared because I feel as it's important for it to be heard. I am Abby Mitchell. I have 2 daughters that attend John H. Castle Elementary. I propose that we discuss the mandates given to teachers and after-school enrichment programs and it be added to the agenda so that the community can also have some say. I also ask that the board consider how capping what the teachers make will make it impossible for these programs to be able to continue. Not having these programs will affect our kids who benefit so much from these enrichment programs. Capping teachers' pay for these programs and suggesting for teachers to do this off campus makes it even harder for parents to get these kids these places for these programs. My daughters and so many other students have gotten so much from these programs, including mindset coaching, after-school art, and STEM. These programs have helped them in so many positive ways. These programs matter. They have instilled confidence, creativity, and a belief in themselves that they didn't have before. These educators put so much of their time and money already into the normal school hours and put even more time and money into these programs for their students. They deserve to be paid for their time and skills and not have their pay capped. I have no problem as a parent paying them for a program that benefits my child. Please reconsider this and how it affects the kids who attend Warwick County schools. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Michael Hancock.
Hello. I too I have a list of questions about the enrichment programs and the new guidelines. And I'm going to try and get through all of these, and I will follow up with an email to everybody that needs to have it so I can hopefully continue the conversation that way. The new guidelines affecting after-school enrichment programs that are not offered directly by the school, STEM, art, tutoring, music, etc. Are these guidelines publicly available, and if so, where? If they're not, is there a way that I can request having a copy of them so I can review them to make sure that the information I have is correct? What prompted the new guidelines? You addressed it a little bit. I'm more curious, was there a specific incident that caused insurance rates to spike or for something to happen, and that's what caused everybody to go back and look at these? Is it an increase in the overall number of programs that are being offered? Is it all coming from one specific place, or is it on a per school basis? Is it coming, you said it wasn't specific from the board. Is it federal guidelines, state guidelines, or where did they sort of, rise from? Are certain programs exempt, things like Y-Care, sports, things like that? If they are, is it because they are official programs offered by the school? And therefore, teachers are being paid a stipend directly from the school corporation or from their specific school that they're employed at? And is that what makes them different? If it's not, are there steps to secure exemptions or additional funding for programs like STEM, art, tutoring, things like that? If an instructor wants to continue offering their program, I understand they have to submit a use of school facilities application. What is the speed with which they can expect to reply on that? And if their application is denied, is there an appeals process? And what does that look like? Why is there a limit on hourly pay? My understanding is it's $30 an hour. If you have more than 6 students, then they can request more than that. For what I do for a living is much less important than what teachers do, and I charge way more than that on a freelance basis. So I'm curious where the number came from and why it's in effect. Insurance costs, so they have to secure their own insurance. Is there a possibility that there are additional riders that could be attached to the school's insurance cost to help lower the cost of these programs, where the cost of that is incurred by the teachers rather than having to get a separate policy and then list the school as an additional entity? Overall cost, you said that there's the hourly cap, but any supply cost above and beyond that are an extra expense that are not counted towards the hourly cap. Does that include the cost of insurance? If it costs $600 a year, it's an operating expense. If you have $200 in supplies, you're at $800. So if you're being charged $30 an hour is the max, but you need to recoup all of that, that could push you up to $60, $80, $90 an hour before you hit that. In addition, are you able to amortize those recuperating costs over the cost of the semester? So I want to run this for the entire time, because if the number of students that sign up for an activity fluctuates on a month-by-month basis, it's almost impossible to estimate, I heard the timer, you know, how much.
That was my problem.
Oh, that was your, okay, good. That was the time, was that the timer?
But-
Okay, so what I'm saying is,
Yeah.
if you have, you know, say you're
You're
looking
fine. Finish
at
your thought.
insurance, operating costs, everything else, you've got total expenditures of $800 to $1,000, $1,200, let's say, for a total year. So you're looking at $100 a month. So you know that you need at least, if you want to be paid the $30 an hour, and then you need an additional, you know, $100 on top of that. But 1 month you have 4 students that sign up, and the next month you have 10. Because my understanding is that a lot of these things will fluctuate. You know, like my son does STEM, loves it. But there are months where we're just going to be gone, or we just have other activities. He's not going to be in it. So it makes it incredibly difficult for the teachers to plan for that and be able to figure out, you know, okay, what do I charge for this program if I can't go over a certain amount? And if I have 1 kid, I can charge the $30 an hour to them. But if I have 2, I can only charge 15, et cetera. It seems like an incredibly cumbersome formula to try to actually do any kind of projections. So I'm curious, is there a particular formula that you can punch in and figure out, okay, we average the monthly cost, what happens if it turns out they earn $35 an hour over the course of a semester? Do they have to return a certain amount of funding? How does that work? An additional, must all the costs be incurred by the instructor, or can, like a PTO, say we would like to sponsor STEM activities or music activities, or could there be a fundraiser, or could you, if there are grants are available, are they allowed to apply for that as well? Again, I don't have the guidelines. I've read some of them. I've had some of the stuff shared with me. I'd like to have a direct copy just to understand, because it seems like it's pretty opaque as to, and I think that's where a lot of the information on social media came from, was people are upset. Obviously, my son found out he may not have STEM at the end of the month, and he's upset about it. I'm upset about it, and so is my wife. So what can we do to try and work with the teachers, work with the parents, to keep the programs going? But we need the information.
Okay, thank you.
And I'm sure there was 1 or 2 more questions that I glossed over.
Yes.
So I'll follow up with an email.
Yes,
Thank you.
thank you.
Karen Selby.
Hi, my name is Corinne Selby. I have 3 students, 2 in Warwick County, and one's going to be an upcoming kindergartner in Warwick County, John H. Castle and Chandler, where my children attend. And I just wanted to come tonight and express my strong concern and respectfully request that the new guidelines regarding the use of school facilities for after-school enrichment, such as art, STEM, social emotional development, tutoring services, to be reviewed and reconsidered. It's my understanding that these new guidelines will require educators to provide either free services, purchase costly insurance policies, or move their services to off-site locations. The goal for supporting students in their development is undeniably important and commendable, and this policy inadvertently places an unreasonable financial burden on our teachers, who they're expected to provide these essential services without compensation in some cases, which is neither fair nor sustainable. We can't ask these educators to work for free and take on personal financial risk in order to fulfill their professional responsibilities. The teachers shouldn't be forced into a position where their ability to offer these enrichment programs is contingent on purchasing expensive insurance, especially if the amount that they're going to charge for such services is also being written into the guidelines. Additionally, forcing educators to potentially provide these services off-school property is deeply troubling, especially for at-risk students who may not have access to additional academic support and will have trouble with accessing things like tutoring off campus, especially children who require transportation or don't have parental support to make it to these tutoring sessions. It just creates a logistical challenge for these students, and it's going to disproportionately disadvantage some students, and it's going to widen the achievement gap. So I respectfully urge the board to amend or rescind these guidelines in order to provide a more equitable solution, one that will allow the teachers to continue offering these valuable services to students on property without being financially penalized. And it seems we have maybe a insurance issue that should not be the burden of the educators and the students and the parents. As he had said before, maybe there is some kind of a rider or something that could be written into our policy. Maybe we need to discuss that with the insurance company. So I also propose that we add this to the agenda for the next school board meeting to discuss the new guidelines given to educators regarding the use of school facilities after hours. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to commend all the speakers who came forth tonight and presented their positions and statements. They're very well stated and brought up some good points, and I trust this. Dr. Redmond will address these, and we'll work it out with the board.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
And I appreciate everyone coming tonight as well. We are here to educate, and we are providing, the schools are providing services that offer opportunities to our students, and certainly we want to look and make it the best possible. So there were a lot of questions brought up this evening, and we look forward to discussing those and figuring out if there's a way to make things come through a better light. One of the things that I was wondering about as we were talking, there is a waiver along with our use of facilities form, an insurance waiver. And I don't know if that's something, I think there are other ways that we could look for solutions or at least have discussions about and try to make things a little easier. And maybe that's not possible. I don't know. I understand what you're saying, and I understand it. I've been a tutor. I've done it. I get it. And it is a service to our students, and I would hate for us to take a step backwards.
Yes.
But also, by the same token, we need to make sure as a school board that we are not liable for an accident or that type of thing. So hopefully, yes, the whole corporation. So hopefully we can figure out something to make it all work. We don't want, it's not our goal to have students lose services. So, thank you.
I just want to, I guess, also, just coming in to this, but somewhat like Jane, of a unique perspective on this board, having taught before, and having tutored students, both for free, because the students simply couldn't afford it, but also parents who were very willing and asking for teachers to charge for tutoring services because they recognize the benefit of that. I started tutoring kids when I was in school at USI to become a teacher, and it was a great way to kind of get some experience before getting into the classroom, instructing a student on a one-on-one basis before you actually end up in a classroom in front of 26 students. So, and it really kind of hones that skill of keeping a student's attention. And I can recall as a teaching student, as a student teacher, I guess you'd call, when I was still in school, that was 15, I don't know, years ago, charging $25 an hour. And so to me, the 30 seems, I don't know where that number came from. Like I said, I wasn't part of that. I'd like to explore that a little bit more. I also know, I did some summer tutoring, and my mom was a teacher as well, and we jointly did that, and of course we did it at our house. We were fortunate we had a place to do it at our house, but we had 4 students come in, 4 to 6 at a time, and if that was done at the school, that's not much money per kid to be able to charge for a lot of work and prep and copies and planning that goes into an instruction time like that, and it's so valuable. The parents, I think, recognize the value of that. So I guess I am a little concerned about unintended consequences with things, and I haven't, and I know, Abby, I'm sure you and your team have done a lot of talking, and it sounds like you have with the teachers union for quite a while on this. This is just coming up to my attention. It sounds like a lot of other people. So I do wonder if maybe there's some questions brought up, and maybe there is a little time to look into that before implementing this. I don't know if there's a deadline that we need to do this by February 1st, or if we could pause the implementation of this a little bit while we explore that the suggestion of a rider is a good idea. I think you can get riders for such non-owned vehicles riders, right? It's not your vehicle, someone else is owning it, and I don't know if there's a similar type thing, and maybe there's not, and maybe you've looked into it, but those are good questions, and I just wonder if maybe we could pause implementing this for a while.
So
discuss
no
it.
action is taking place this evening. This is not an action item for the board this evening, but the people from the audience and the speakers tonight did ask some great questions, and I know that you're a new board member and some other board members have some questions as well. So we've taken some good notes, and we have some emails, and I can get any of the board members any information that we need for perfect clarity. And of course, as I said, we will always think about when we implement something, looking at it, reassessing, and making changes as needed if those changes are appropriate at any point in time. So we can certainly do that moving forward.
I share, like Jane, I understand that side. I also understand from a responsibility side as a board and on the school corporation, leadership, always thinking of the liability side of things too. And as an attorney, I get that more often than not. We attorneys tend to make things expensive for people because there's attorneys that like to bring lawsuits. And so I get that. So I want to address that side of it too.
Sure.
So
Thank you.
I do appreciate your work on it. I appreciate the teachers union have a good conversation, it sounds like, for several months on that. And so I'm encouraged that they work so well together with you on that. And so perhaps it sounds like maybe maybe there wasn't as much communication to the teachers as maybe they're intended to be. And so maybe some of the concerns we're hearing might come up that weren't brought up before.
Sure, and we're just getting back into school,
And
and that's
yes,
why
and
we,
out for weeks.
yes,
yeah,
and that's why
yeah.
we allotted the additional time.
Is this something that can be brought up and discussed in a work session, or?
Yes, that's, so after, as I said earlier, we always take all the information from public comment, and then we can use whatever means that we would like as a board to address any questions that came up tonight and any questions that you guys have. So we could easily do that during a work session, yes.
I would make a motion that we do that in a work session and we postpone implementing this February 1st. Is there a hurry for this, or?
Oh, I've got a bit, well, you made a motion.
I don't think a motion's necessary. We're not this is not any action that the board is taking or
The work session would
implementing.
allow for additional information to the board based on the questions that were come. that
Well,
came
my
up.
motion was going
You've
to
already
be
said that that because of the snow days, the date that you originally had is being adjusted.
We're saying, all along, we've been saying that if teachers are having difficulty or have questions or need assistance working through the process, that we, as we always do, work with our staff members.
Okay, is it correct that the teachers, all of the teachers got this information just prior to Christmas break?
They got the final written guidelines.
Okay.
Yes.
And so they were given the snow days. I mean, I tried to contact my insurance company and I got no responses. But, so we're asking them to have that done. This is January 13th. They have to have that insurance in place and ready to go by February 1st. I think this is a quick.
No, I just addressed that we are willing to work with any staff member who's having
So
difficulty meeting
how do
that
they
deadline.
do that
Because
process? Do they call you, or how do they make that
If-
happen?
we follow chain of command like always. If they have questions, they first talk with their building principal. They have their avenues through their teachers union. If the building principal isn't getting the information through If they do not feel like they're getting appropriate information through the building principal, they can reach out to district staff. They have multiple opportunities for communication with administration.
Okay, so if I'm a teacher and I'm a tutor, my first step is to go to my principal and say, hey, I've tried to get my insurance and I can't get that. I need to extend this to April 30th.
They can request assistance, but at that point, then we just have to have a discussion about how many people are having difficulty.
I guess
Again,
I
the-
don't
the-
see the immediate rush of this.
So we've had
Sure.
lots, I got
Sure.
a couple
Sure.
points. I was good, robust conversation is good, right? But, and I'm obviously, you know, this hits a little closer because it's tutoring kids, right? That's what we've honed in on, right? But some of this, okay?
Snow?
I don't know.
That's scary. We had a barn collapse this week from the ceiling, so I'm like really leery. So, what I'm a little concerned about is maybe sometimes our lens is not, you know, everybody, we all have our camps, right? But this is corporation-wide, it's a public entity, and so just a couple questions. If it's an insurance thing, to me that, and I'm not super risk adverse, okay, I'm pretty risky. But as a corporation, you know, it's either is or it isn't. It's either required or not. And so if kids are there with adults after school, not at a school sanctioned event, then that's uninsured.
That's correct.
And we require that, we've always, it's not new, we've always required it
Right.
for our basketball or football, people like that. So just, there's other people with this happens to be, you know, their teacher and their student, but they're still outside that. So to me, that's an insurance thing. We don't make the rules. If something happens, and things happen, you gotta have insurance. That's just the rules we play by. So if there was a deadline or a what's the rush, to me, that right there is the rush, because maybe the realization was, gosh, we didn't really realize maybe all this was happening, and it's all great things that need to happen, you know, but it's not being done the right way.
Okay,
You
well,
know.
we've done this and I've been in it for over 40 years. We've done this forever. I mean, I tutored, I didn't do it at the school, but I have had friends that did. And I asked Dr. Redmond earlier today, how many incidents have we had? And the answer was 0. Okay?
No, I'm with
Now,
you, but-
that's
That's
not my
irrelevant to this
point.
discussion
I want
because-
the liability taken care of. But I'm wondering if there is a waiver, which I found in, actually, I didn't find it, but I was given this, the use of school facilities application, and this isn't a waiver, this is a waiver and release of liability. Now, I'm not saying this is the end-all be-all, but what if this could be tweaked and the parents fill that out or
I think
whatever?
that-
That
I
would
don't
be
know.
that would be something
May I
to
suggest
discuss
that
at the
we-
work session.
Yes, we need to do
Yes.
that because the document you're showing
So
me, I don't.
we're gonna have a work
Mrs.
session
Wilhelmus-
and we're gonna rush this by February 1st.
No,
I don't-
I don't
no, we
think
don't
anybody's
have
trying
a
to rush
deadline.
this.
Rushing
I think we
anything,
want to do the
and
right way.
I don't believe this is
And
exactly what you think, what you're interpreting
And
this
it
to
may
be.
not be.
But
But we're happy to look at
sometimes-
it and
That's a
we
I
great
can do
believe-
it during
idea.
I
the
believe-
work
I'm
session.
just trying to
We have
There's a
collected-
lot of things that we can do, but it should be discussed at a work session.
I
Yes.
agree.
So what we're going to do now is move on to consideration of routine business.
And we'll schedule a work session.
And for the public,
Yes.
work sessions are public.
Yes.
They
Yes.
are
They will be
advertised.
advertised.
We would notice
And will
it.
be
and
advertised.
Just
everybody
like we
would
do
have
for
the
every
ability-
have a
public
work
meeting.
session.
All work sessions are public meetings. Yes.
I guess I just, though, if it's still up for, if we're gonna discuss it further, I guess I think teachers are probably still gonna be wondering, so can I tutor after February 1st if I don't get this or not?
We'll
And-
let
and
Dr.
they need to let
Redmond
parents know ahead of time.
inform the staff.
But I would like to say one thing. Of all the board members, I've sat on this board longer than anybody. And I can tell you that I've sat on this board when the administration was not open to change, was not open to challenge, and was not open to conflict. I can tell you that Dr. Redmond is very open to everything you're saying. And I have total faith that she will work with the teachers involved here to make sure that we come up with a good solution for our students, our teachers, and our parents. I have faith in that, and I'm willing to give them time, because I think everything I hear is open. I think everybody here has been heard.
And I think everybody here only cares about kids. So I want everybody to go home, like I'm gonna go home and go to sleep and know that Dr. Redmond is gonna work really hard to find a good solution for all of us, because I believe that.
So we should watch for the work session posted. We, the
Yes.
public, right, should watch for a work session published with that as a line item on agenda or no?
Yes, for the
We'll
work
put-
session, yes.
Okay, so
Yes,
that
for
way,
the work
it's
session.
not gonna necessarily be at the next meeting or whatever. We're gonna work on some stuff, talk.
We'll have to get the date
there'll be a-
scheduled, and
Right.
we'll all work with this group to get that date scheduled, and then we'll make adjustments from there.
So in the near
Yes.
future.
And just
And
one
I-
last point of clarity that I want everyone to understand, and our teachers' union members who have worked on this with us in the audience can attest to this as well. Coming up with these guidelines was an attempt to allow our staff to continue offering these services during after-school hours in our buildings, rather than saying we can't do it at all.
Right.
So we were trying very hard to create a situation to allow for these kinds of things to continue, and that was our goal. And that is why we worked through with a set of guidelines such as this, being mindful of the fact that our insurance doesn't cover for these particular groups, because they are receiving money for personal income, so that takes them out of the school corporation insurance. And then secondly, really thinking about within any given building and then across the district, just trying to make sure we have controls in place so that students who may have different financial backgrounds and families with different financial backgrounds have same access and opportunity, and not just because you happen to work or be in a particular building. And that's why we wanted the consistency across the district with a cap on the income. So these are all things we can talk through
Yeah.
during work session, but those are just some of the
And this is gonna
things
go
that we
for
worked
all
through.
schools and
Correct.
for everything. Like if you
Correct.
get band lessons or choir lessons after school, you know, this goes for
If you
all.
get paid
If you're
lessons.
paid, it goes for everyone who's getting paid to work after their contract hours.
Okay, I'm glad you said that. I know we're probably ready to move on.
Yeah.
But, so if you're a teacher and you're not taking compensation for whatever reason, right? Maybe you just don't want to do it, or, great, I'm an enterprising person, do it. But maybe you don't, and maybe you recognize this child can't pay for it. If you're not taking compensation, but you're after hours in the building, are you covered? You may not know this answer. I wonder, is that situation covered under our insurance?
Yes,
Think
because
that
they are
is?
not taking
'Cause they're not, yeah,
additional income.
okay.
They're
That
not
helps me a little bit.
enterprising in the business outside the school board.
Right, that's the old, I'll see you before school or after school, and we'll go over
Yeah.
math problem 5.
Yes, correct,
Okay.
correct.
Okay.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Agenda item 9, consideration of routine business. Dr. Redmond.
Thank you, Mrs. Glover. The routine business this evening includes approving the minutes of the school board meeting held on December 16, 2024, and approving the claims and signing the docket for January 13, 2025. I recommend the board approve the routine items as presented.
I make a motion to approve the routine items as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion by Mrs. Wilhelmus, a second by Mr. Baker. Is there any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say nay.
I will abstain since I wasn't present for that meeting and can't do anything about the agenda, but.
Noted.
About the
Thank
minutes,
you.
but-
Thank you, Mr. Scanner. Agenda items 10 and 11, consideration of items for board action. Dr. Redmond.
Yes, agenda item 11.1, the first reading of updated policy 1301, school board committees. Tonight is the first reading of the updated policy 1301, school board committees. The second reading will occur at our next board meeting on January 27th, at which time the board may choose to take action. We are simply doing a bit of an reorganization of our standing committees on the school board. So I'm just going to briefly read what those new committees will be if it does in fact pass next board meeting. The policy 1301 establishes the committees of the Board of School Trustees of the Warwick County School Corporation and their operations and responsibilities. Article 1, standing and other committees. The board shall have the following standing committees: the Bid Committee. Number 2, the Construction, Technology, Transportation, and Maintenance Committee. Number 3, the Student Learning and Growth Committee. Number 4, the Personnel, Custodian, and Food and Nutrition Services Committee. And number 5, the Policy Committee. And again, that is the section that is being proposed as the change. As always, all community members can see all of our board policy and proposed policy on our website.
Next item, approved change order.
Thank you, Mrs. Glover. Consider approving a change order from Danco Construction for work to be completed at Castle High School as part of the art rooms and east wall renovation. The request is to replace the exterior metal wall panels above the former shop garage area along the east wall. I recommend the board accept the change order at a cost of $17,021 as presented.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Mosby, seconded by Mrs. Wilhelmus. Is there any discussion?
Is it gonna add any time?
No.
No.
Okay.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, motion carried. Next item, approved a donation to Logue Elementary School.
Thank you, Mrs. Glover. Tonight, we have a request for a $15 donation to Logue Elementary from the Warwick County Cares Drug-Free Council to be used to purchase Quaver, which is a computer curriculum for social emotional learning. I recommend the board approve the donation as presented.
And that's 1,500, correct?
1,500, yes, I'm sorry, what did I say?
Oh.
Thank you. $1,500 donation. Thank you.
Clarify.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Baker, seconded by Mr. Skinner. Is there any discussion? Call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Next item, approve a course addition. Dr. Redmond.
Thank you, Mrs. Glover. Considering approving the addition to the following high school course offering for the 25-26 school year, Computing Foundations for a Digital Age. I recommend the board approve the addition of this course as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion by Mr. France, seconded by Mrs. Wilhelmus. Is there any discussion?
So this will be a course offered at all 3 schools as requirement of new graduation requirements, correct?
So anytime that we bring a new course addition to the board, that can come from any of our individual schools, but then it's open for all schools to be able to offer. This one in particular will meet a new requirement for the new diploma that's starting with next year's freshmen. Yes.
And next year, what school will that be offered at? All of them, or do you know?
Mr. Fisher,
It
for
says all
clarity,
on the
yeah,
sheet.
it's all
This is
schools.
all,
But
okay, thank you.
for clarity, Mr. Fisher, also, is this the course that we're looking at that we might be able to provide in our middle schools as well?
Yes, Dr. Redmond said this is a new requirement for any student that's going to be graduating high school in cohort 2029 and beyond. This is a brand new course. That's why we had to bring it to the board. Middle school to see if we can incorporate this within 8th grade because the state has provided us that flexibility.
Yeah.
All through the 8th grade if it works.
So just in case we couldn't hear, next time I'll bring Mr. Fisher to the podium or any directors. It's fine, I'll repeat. So basically, the course is available for our high schools, but Mr. Fisher and his team have been doing a great job of looking at any opportunities we might have to push some of these courses into our middle schools to allow, like, for example, in 8th grade, and then students can work toward getting that credit in 8th grade and then open up a spot for something else in high school, and we'll give some additional flexibility that is allowed with the new diplomas once they get to high school. Not all students maybe will choose to do that in middle, or we may get to a point where we all do that, but otherwise then they will have the opportunity in the meantime at the high school level.
It's like we do with algebra.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Fisher.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Next item is consideration of personnel recommendations. Dr. Gresham.
Thank you, Mrs. Glover. The Human Resource Office has the following business to bring before the board tonight. Agenda item 12.1, consideration of employment. The certified staff position is Julianne Shaw, a temporary special education teacher at Oakdale Elementary School. The support staff positions are Stacy Nally, temporary program assistant at Boonville High School, Brittany Merle, temporary program assistant at Newburgh Elementary School, Ashley Blandford, a 6.5-hour cafeteria position at Boonville Middle School, and the following varsity coaches: David Smith, girls varsity tennis coach at Tecumseh High School, Tristan Selby, boys varsity cross-country coach at Boonville High School for 25-26 school year, and Jason Mays, girls varsity cross-country coach at Boonville High School for the 25-26 school year.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Mosby, seconded by Mrs. Wilhelmus. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you, Mrs. Glover. Agenda item 12.2, rescind employment. I'm asking the board to rescind the employment offer to Brittany Fording, who is going to be a temporary special education teacher at Oakdale Elementary School.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mrs. Wilhelmus, seconded by Mr. Baker. Is there any discussion? All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you. Agenda item 12.3, leaves. Angela Hilborn, 3.25-hour cafeteria position at Logue Elementary School. Deborah Childress, 3.75-hour cafeteria position at Boonville Middle School. Walter Lambert, Director of Student Services. Adam Wadsworth, language arts teacher at Boonville High School. Trevor Wagner, third grade teacher at Sharon Elementary School. Mary Tubbs, a first grade teacher at Logue Elementary School. And Stephen Michaels, custodian at Oakdale Elementary School.
Motion to approve leaves.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Eigner, seconded by Mr. France. Any discussion? All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried.
Dr. Gresham, just pardon my interruption, but before we move on, I just want to make sure that you may have had an update since I made my copy. I just want to make sure we didn't skip an employee between Mr. Wagner and Mrs. Tubbs on your list.
There were several changes this
Okay,
morning.
thank you. I'm sure I did, maybe I printed too early.
Okay.
Sorry. Thank you, sir.
Agenda item 12.4, report of early return. Jennifer Sandusky, a third grade teacher at John H. Castle Elementary School, and Emily Borman, a math teacher at Tecumseh Middle School, have filed appropriate paperwork to return early from their approved leaves of absences. Agenda item 12.5, transfers. Rayanne Rodiger, 6.5-hour cafeteria position at Chandler Elementary School to 5.5-hour cafeteria position at Oakdale Elementary School. Joshua Cady, a 3.75-hour cafeteria position at Castle North Middle School to 3.25-hour cafeteria position at John H. Castle Elementary School. 12.6, resignations. Megan Davis Vickery, temporary program assistant at Newburgh Elementary School, resignation effective January 1st, 2025. Melissa Farrand, 6.5-hour cafeteria position at Newburgh Elementary School, resignation effective January 9th, 2025. Joanna Peacock, 4.75-hour cafeteria position at Castle North Middle School, resignation effective December 20th, 2024. Kelly Schmidt, 5.5-hour cafeteria position at Oakdale Elementary School, resignation effective December 20th, 2024. And Yvonne Mendez, ABS program assistant at Sharon Elementary School, resignation effective January 8th, 2025. Agenda item 12.7, retirements. Annie Alcorn, a counselor at Tecumseh High School, retirement effective June 6th, 2025.
Thank you, Dr. Gresham. Next item is reports by Dr. Redmond.
Thank you, Mrs. Glover. There are just a couple of things I would like to share with the board this evening. First, I just want to extend a big thank you to our transportation director, our maintenance, our managers, of all of our operations departments who have been working so hard, maintenance, our custodial staff, people who have been trying to get our facilities and our lots clean, which is quite a task, as I know that everyone here understands. This week in the middle of, or this past week in the middle of all the storms and outages. And really all of our operations team was impacted in terms of their having to mobilize at different locations to get some serious things taken care of with the quality of our lots and sidewalks and some IT and different things. So just wanted to give a big shout out to those teams for getting all of our facilities as ready as we could be based on the circumstances so we could get opened back up today. So thank you to that group. And then, speaking of our days last week, we hope to get a plan out to our teachers and our parents no later than the end of the day tomorrow. I was hoping to share that today, but we have requested a waiver from our Department of Ed to see if they would have any willingness to waive a couple of those days from last week based on the conditions. After a few conversations with them today, I'm not sure that they are going to allow that, but we have a plan B, we have a plan C, we have several things that we can do to get our time made up with days that we have built in the schedule and some other options as well. So just wanted everybody to know that that will get out to parents and staff. Even if we haven't heard back from Department of Ed, we'll get a plan out by the end of the day tomorrow. If they come back and waive something later, then we'll make an adjustment at that time. So be looking for that information as well.
Okay, thank you. Any other board business?
We have a special ed and transportation meeting the 22nd of this month at 7:30. That's all I have.
And there's a personnel meeting immediately following this meeting, right here in this building. And then construction tomorrow morning at 7:30 at the administration building.
Policy Committee will next meet February 10th, 5:30, here at Central Services. Any other business? Welcome, Mr. Skinner. Look forward to working with you. You're in for a good ride. Okay, being no further business, meeting adjourned.